Welcome to the L&D Blueprint, where we provide the building blocks to great customer service, learning engagement, and development. Join us as we discuss our growth blueprint. Welcome once again to the L&D Blueprint. My name is Frances Otaño Gracia, and I am your host for today. Carolyn is out on maternity leave. So with me today, I have a very special guest. And boy, are you going to have fun with Luciano. He is one of our corporate trainers, but before joining the corporate training world, like me, he was in hospitality. So we always have a lot of stories that we share back and forth. Really excited to have him with us today. Luciano, tell us about you.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Luciano. Like Francis said, I do have a background in hospitality. Got into it on a whim, started working at a casino. Then I went from the poker room in the casino to the front desk of the hotel at the casino. And another really fortunate coincidence is I just happened to be there as they were starting their VIP program. And so I was part of the initial hire for a job I was very much not qualified for, but took so much training and was there for almost 10 years working as a butler, taking care of the top 1% of the top 1% of guests at the Hard Rock. And then I came over to the job here at Learning and Development, and I've never looked back.
Today, I brought you here for a different reason. So we've had 2 episodes so far in our L&D Blueprint podcast. The first one was about having engaging conversations, right? Really listening to our customers, our guests. Second episode was about empathy versus sympathy and how we really want to get to that empathy, right? And I used an analogy that we need to provide empathy to clear our runway so our apology airplane can take off. So here we are on our 3rd episode, and I thought it'd be great if we focus on apologies. So we call this episode Sorry, Not Sorry. Let you know a lot about this topic.
Yes, in hospitality, we're apologizing all the time. I mean, in service in general, especially in customer service, people rarely call in and say, hey, I got my package. Everything went great. All right, bye. Talk to you later. Right? We're usually dealing with an issue, so apologies go hand in hand. And it's a shame because we fall short so often on apologies in service. So whenever we're in a training, I like to break it down into the places that I feel we fall short the most. The very first one is we add a lot of qualifiers to our apologies, a lot of ifs. Second, we don't apologize for something in specific, or we are apologizing for the wrong thing and not for the correct action. And then lastly, we do it too often because it wasn't very good in the first place, and that can cause frustration.
Oh, I love this so much. Let's dig in one by one. Let's start with those adding qualifiers. In my experience, these come in ifs and buts.
That's exactly what it is.
I remember someone saying to me, I apologize if you feel we felt short.
Yes.
Or I apologize, but our policy is the following.
Absolutely. And what those things do is that they skirt responsibility, right? I think all of these things, and we'll concentrate on this one specifically, but all of them come from a reluctance to apologize because I think people assume that they take responsibility. But in customer service, one, we are responsible as we are the representative of whatever company we're speaking of, right? We are the only one they get to speak to. And so we have to have that responsibility because whether we did it or not, we represent the person responsible or the entity responsible. But specifically when it comes to ifs and buts, it also disqualifies what the customer is saying. So if a customer is frustrated and we say, I apologize if that frustrated you, what is the if? What is in doubt? They called due to a frustration, or they came to the front desk due to the frustration. We don't have to worry. It almost shows like we're not paying attention when we add an if. And then the but that you said, that's even more upsetting because we've apologized, but not really, because now we're going to explain why we didn't really need an apology, right?
Right. The process is this way, you know, it is what
Mm-hmm.
it is. Too bad, so sad. That's what we're really
Absolutely.
saying.
Yeah, no, of course. And that doesn't mean we can't explain, because depending on the customer, and if you read the customer and they're the type who needs explanation, which some people do, the same way there are some that are just get me to the response, the explanation is irrelevant. But if a customer needs a response, we can apologize and then go to the explanation. We don't need the bridging word of the but that is going to disqualify what we said previously.
It reminded me of another word that we don't like in hospitality, which is unfortunately.
Oh, that's a
It
big pet
kind of
peeve.
adds. This would be, I'm very sorry. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do. Is it up to fortune, or is it your policy that's wrong, your process that's wrong, right? It's really not up to fortune. So I don't know why we use that so much.
Well, I think that we use it because it almost, again, takes the responsibility away from us. And I think there's a lot of reluctance to give bad news to people in a customer service situation, or I guess in general. But
Yeah.
because there's that reluctance, by you saying unfortunately, it's almost you saying, like, I know this is bad, you know this is bad, I know it's unfortunate. But things aren't unfortunate, they just are. Actually, you've sat in my training in my trainings a lot of times at the beginning when we're going over soft skills. I'll sit down and say, I want everyone to say unfortunately. Great. This is the last time. Because things are not unfortunate, they just are. And by you saying it's unfortunate, the only thing that comes afterwards is bad news.
Agree. 100%. We'll stamp that. All right. So let's go to your next one. I think it was be specific.
Yes.
So I have also been told, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that happened. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you sorry about?
Exactly. What I just spent, and most likely the customer's thinking, I just spent a long period of time explaining to you my frustration. So, one, you need to apologize for the thing that has happened, right? So I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry your package hasn't arrived. I'm sorry you experienced that in the store. Whatever the situation is, right? I'm sorry that we were disrespectful or that you felt disrespected on the phone. You are making sure to apologize what happened to the customer, and not, and this is like another caveat that goes along with it, you're not apologizing for how they feel. Francis, have you ever been apologized? If someone ever apologized to you about your own feelings?
Yeah. But they could never understand my own feelings. They're not me. Right?
No, absolutely. It's like they're apologizing on your behalf. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry you felt that way. It's like, no, no, no. Don't apologize by how I feel. Apologize about the thing that happened that
That made
made
me.
me feel exactly. So we specifically want to apologize for the situation or for the action taken, and never apologize vaguely or apologize for how someone is feeling.
And this is precisely why every time we talk about any model of de-escalation or gaining back a guest or a customer that's had a bad experience, the first step is listening. If you didn't listen, you did not understand what the problem was, and now you cannot be specific in your apology.
Yep.
The last step, if I recall correctly, it's more like do it right, do it once.
Yes. If an apology is done correctly and genuinely, and the person you're speaking to knows that, it shouldn't require multiple apologies. The one is sufficient, right? And what kind of goes into this is I like to, in most relationships, we are on level playing field. I adapt to you, you adapt to me. If there's a misunderstanding, we both adjust to each other. In a customer service scenario, the perspective of the customer is what dominates what is happening. And
Mhm.
so we need to go through these steps. We need to listen, but it's not enough to listen. We need to demonstrate that we're listening, whether that's through questions, whether that's through repeating to make sure they know that we know what's going on. And then once we've done that and we followed the first two steps and now we've apologized, we go straight into the solution. Because I can't tell you, in my time in operations when I was a supervisor, or in my time at the front desk when you're hearing frustrated guests, there are so many times where I've heard someone say, "Stop apologizing." Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you felt that before? Stop. I just need you to stop apologizing.
I need you to resolve this. Your
Mm-hmm.
apologies are not resolving my issue. You don't even know what my issue is because you keep repeating your process and saying, but.
Yes. And it drives people crazy. Like, stop
does.
apologizing, get to the solution. If you did it right and if you did it the first time, it landed on them, they got it, and now they know that you understand the situation and they are moving forward. It's so important that we understand if we do something correctly, you don't have to do it multiple times. Because most people are fairly reasonable.
So let me ask you, let me throw this one at you. What is your favorite apology?
What a great question. So I would say my favorite apology is one where we fully recognize the situation and we've taken the customer from 90 to 75. It's
Mhm.
the one where we really demonstrated that we're going to settle. And at the end, they go, I'm sorry about before. I know this isn't your fault. Thank you so much for helping me. That's my favorite apology.
Yeah.
And we
Disarmed.
showed we disarmed them. We showed our empathy. We apologized. We related. And they were, wow, you're really trying to help. And it's really hard to be mad at someone who's genuinely trying to help you.
Love it. That reminds me one time when I worked in one of my uh, hotels, luxury properties. I had a gentleman, complaining about his room, and of course, I listened. I listed the things that were, that he felt were wrong about the room. Provided options. Empathized with him. If I were here on a vacation with my family, of course, I would want that experience to be magical and unforgettable. So I can see how this is frustrating to you. I'm really sorry that we didn't meet your expectations with this guest room. Allow me the opportunity to look for something else for you and your family. And as I was fixing the problem, I learned that his son was having his birthday. It was his son's birthday weekend. He was turning 8 years old. And I said, "Oh, that's so wonderful. What's his favorite thing in the world right now for 8 year olds, right?" And he said Dragon Ball Z. And I love Dragon Ball. I'm an anime fan. I'll admit it, and I'm a little geeky. And so I said, "Which is his favorite character?" And he said Vegeta. That's my favorite character. And so I made sure to have a cake brought up to the room with Vegeta and Dragon Balls and all, to celebrate this 8 year old's birthday. And the father came back. He's like, "Can you just please forget about everything about the room?" Because we couldn't change the room that first night. It would have had to be the second night moving forward. We're staying in the room. The room doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because my son's reaction at receiving that personalized cake, right? And the way you handled everything, this is magical. This is exactly what I wanted for my family. So, kind of tying it all together and maybe adding the little bit of, above and beyond, it really just made that experience a lot more. But if I had been defensive and been like, well, these are our guest rooms, I can't change the bed, right? Well, this is the walls, I can't change, none of that matters. It's really making sure that apology is sincere and perhaps doing something extra later. But more on that in another episode. Avoid qualifiers, adding any qualifiers to our apologies. No ifs, no buts. A true apology, genuine apology from the heart, right?
The second one is we're going to apologize for a specific situation that happened. We are not apologizing for this or apologizing for that or apologizing that someone feels a specific way. We are apologizing for what happened.
Perfect. And then lastly, we're going to do it right, the first one. So we only do it once. Perhaps, in the closing, maybe we bring it up again, but we're only going to do it right and we're going to do it once. By doing what, Luciano?
By making sure that we followed the first steps and the customer knows that we meant it, they know that it's genuine because they understand that we understand that this is inappropriate and we go right into the solution.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Luciano, for being on our third episode. Sorry, not sorry. You've been wonderful. We hope to have you back for more on our, hospitality insights. It's always fun to have a fellow survivor from the hospitality world.
I would like to be on the Dragon Ball Z episode. I actually have a lot of thoughts.
Okay, very good. Now you all know my favorite character there. But thank you everybody for joining us again, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of your growth blueprint. Until next time.